Some say the very year Sandra Bullock held that golden Oscar statue high, the moment when the world believed she had everything, was also the year the man closest to her, the one who knew every secret, every password, every private photo, betrayed her. No one really knows what happened after that. All they know is, just a few months later, Sandra disappeared. No scandals, no explanations, just silence. Whispers in Hollywood say she had seen something most people would rather not face, the darkness that hides behind the spotlight. And right when every light was shining on her, she chose to walk into her own shadows. Stay until the end of this video, because there are secrets that have never been told about the woman who once made the world believe that Hollywood happiness was real. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the true stories and the whispers that were never meant to be heard. Sandra Bullock was born in 1964 in Arlington, Virginia, into a family where music wasn't just a profession, it was the air they breathed. Her father, John Bullock, was an American vocal coach. Her mother, Helga Meyer, was a German soprano, a woman whose high notes could bring a Berlin audience to absolute silence. Sandra grew up among concert halls, suitcases, and stage lights. Her childhood wasn't spent on playgrounds, but in backstage corridors, where layers of opera gowns hung beside cello cases and the scent of powder blended with the smell of varnished wood. She learned how to bow to an audience before she even knew how to write her name. Every night, as her mother performed, little Sandra sat quietly in the wings, mouthing every lyric, her eyes shining with something that felt almost like destiny. Some say that one evening, Helga Meyer watched her daughter on a small children's stage and whispered softly, "You will go farther than I ever did." No one knew if it was pride or a mother's intuition, because just a few years later, Helga passed away, leaving behind a silence Sandra would carry with her for the rest of her life, like a note that never stopped echoing. What do you think about this? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the hidden stories behind Hollywood's brightest lights. After graduating from East Carolina University, Sandra Bullock left her hometown and moved to New York with just a few $100s in her pocket and one single dream: to stand on a stage. She took on every job she could to survive: waiting tables, making coffee, doing makeup for actors, even teaching music to children so she could afford acting classes. In those early years, she lived in a cramped apartment with a window that faced a gray brick wall. The only light that truly kept her going was the belief that one day the world would know her name. Then came her chance. Sandra was invited to audition for Speed, 1994. What was meant to be just another summer action flick catapulted her to stardom alongside Keanu Reeves, turning an unknown actress into one of the defining faces of 1990s Hollywood. Legend has it, the role of Annie wasn't originally hers. A major A-list actress had turned it down, calling the film too loud. Sandra was only brought in after the director saw her at an audition, where she was both terrified and smiling. That smile, he later said, made the entire room fall silent. Maybe it was in that very moment, a smile born out of fear, that America fell in love with her forever. After the success of Speed, Hollywood flung its doors wide open for Sandra Bullock, the woman who could make the world laugh or cry with just a single glance. From While You Were Sleeping to Miss Congeniality, she became a new symbol of the modern American woman: strong, intelligent, independent, yet effortlessly charming. Without gimmicks or glamorous gowns, Sandra won audiences over with her honesty, stepping onto the screen like the warm, familiar neighbor everyone wished they had. The press crowned her America's sweetheart because she didn't act to look perfect. She acted to be real. But behind that golden spotlight, many in the industry whispered that her fierce independence made her difficult in the eyes of Hollywood's power players. She had no need for powerful backers, refused to play political games, and once turned down a role for privilege offer outright. From that moment, a few doors quietly began to close. In a world where the light is often bought through compromise, Sandra Bullock chose to stand in the shadows of self-respect, not fear. The Blind Side, 2009, became the brightest milestone in Sandra Bullock's career. Her portrayal of Lee, Ann Tuohy, a strong and compassionate adoptive mother, earned her the first Oscar of her life and lifted her to the peak of glory. When her name echoed through the Dolby Theater, then the Kodak Theater, the entire room rose to its feet in applause. Sandra smiled through tears, a moment that seemed perfect after 2 decades of relentless dedication. But behind that dazzling light, a storm was quietly taking shape. Some say that while Sandra stood at the height of fame, her trusted manager of more than 10 years secretly began gathering everything: contracts, personal letters, and private recordings. Then, one day, a hacker sent an email to her assistant containing an audio file of her late mother's voice. No one ever found out how it was obtained, but from that very moment, something inside Sandra shifted. She grew silent and afraid. A few months later, she vanished from Hollywood. No red carpets, no talk shows, just a void. Some believe she signed a secret agreement in exchange for peace. After that night of triumph, Sandra Bullock, the brightest star in the cinematic sky, suddenly stepped into the shadows, as if that golden statue had come with the price of fame itself. In 2010, when the Golden Oscar was still warm in her hands, Sandra Bullock faced the most painful fall of her life. While America celebrated her as the Queen of Hollywood, the news of her husband Jesse James's infidelity exploded across the nation. Text messages, photos, confessions splashed across every headline. Sandra didn't cry. She didn't defend herself. She simply filed for divorce and said quietly, "Sometimes, silence is how you save yourself." Some say that before the scandal broke, a friend had warned her about the signs. But Sandra only smiled and said, "I've always trusted the people I love." Perhaps that very trust was what made the wound cut so deep. After that, she disappeared from Hollywood, stepping away from the spotlight and the noise. She devoted all her time to raising her adopted son, Louis. No interviews, no red carpets, just a mother learning how to find peace again. Insiders whispered that Jesse James tried to reach out, hoping for forgiveness, but Sandra remained silent. "I'm not angry," she once said. "I just don't want to repeat what broke me." After the storm of her very public divorce, Sandra Bullock slipped away from Hollywood's spotlight like a star quietly fading from the sky. She stopped appearing on camera. No interviews, no statements, just silence and a quiet dream more meaningful than fame: becoming a mother. In 2010, Sandra adopted her son, Louis. A few years later, she welcomed her daughter, Layla. From that moment on, those 2 children became her entire world. The woman who once stood beneath the brightest Oscar lights chose to build a new life in California, in a small house tucked into a valley, where wind and children's laughter replaced applause. A former assistant once whispered that Sandra still locks every window before bed, as if afraid the outside light might find its way in. But in that quiet shelter, Sandra Bullock found herself again not as a movie star, but as a mother. Quiet, warm, like the soft final scene of a long and beautiful film. In 2014, in the quiet of a late night in Beverly Hills, Sandra Bullock heard a strange noise echo through her home. She quickly locked her bedroom door, her hands trembling as she dialed 911. The audio recording of that call still chills those who've heard it. Her voice shaking, breaking, stripped of the strength the world had always seen. When police arrived, they found an intruder standing just outside her door, carrying handwritten love letters and a gun. He was arrested, but the nightmare didn't end. From that night on, Sandra never truly slept through until morning. Darkness, once just a familiar backdrop on film sets, had become something real, something terrifying. People say that after the break-in, she installed dozens of security cameras around her home, completely changed her daily routines, and only appeared in public when absolutely necessary. Some claimed she even hired a private security team to monitor her neighborhood and banned reporters from coming anywhere near her, children. Friends whispered that Sandra was never the same. After that night, more cautious, more closed off, always looking over her shoulder when she stepped outside. Perhaps, in a world where the spotlight exposes everything, she learned the harshest truth of all: nowhere is truly safe, not even for the woman the world adored. In 2015, when the wounds in her heart seemed to have finally begun to heal, Sandra Bullock met Brian Randall, a quiet photographer, a former model who loved nature and stayed far away from the noise of fame. In a Hollywood filled with flashing lights and fleeting romances, Brian was a rare moment of stillness. They met when he was hired to photograph her son's birthday party, and from that moment on, a gentle calm slowly began to enter Sandra's life. They lived simply. No wedding rings, no loud public declarations. They raised her 2 children together, planted trees in the garden, cooked meals side by side, and taught the kids to say their prayers of gratitude before bed. When Brian passed away in 2023 after a battle with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, there was no public funeral, no press statement, and no farewell post on social media. Just a brief message from the family. And then, silence. Some say Sandra scattered his ashes with her own hands into the sea, the very place where she once said she would leave Hollywood behind forever. After years of silence, Sandra Bullock returned with a strikingly different presence. Quieter, deeper, and disarmingly real. She was no longer the witty, light-hearted woman from Miss Congeniality. Now, she chose roles that carried echoes of her own pain. In The Unforgettable, 2021, Sandra became a woman burdened by an unerasable guilt. The Lost City, 2022, told a more playful story, but beneath its humor was a quiet journey of rediscovering joy after heartbreak. Soon, she is set to reunite with Nicole Kidman in the sequel to Practical Magic, a soft, poetic closing to a long and unforgettable chapter. Some say Sandra no longer acts for fame, but for healing. Every role is a fragment of memory, a piece of pain she's learning to forgive, others for hurting her, and herself for holding on. A crew member once shared that after filming the final scene of The Unforgivable, Sandra simply whispered, "I understand her, because I was her." Perhaps that is why, while others are just acting, Sandra Bullock is truly living, more authentically than ever before. Today, Sandra Bullock lives with her 2 children in a small house tucked away in the quiet suburbs of California. No paparazzi, no red carpets, no noise of fame. In the mornings, she makes coffee and drives her kids to school. In the afternoons, she tends the garden, paints with them, and tells bedtime stories. The woman who once made Hollywood beau now simply wants to be a mother, a role with no script but the most honest one of her life. Maybe Hollywood didn't lose Sandra Bullock. Maybe she chose to step out of the race, to find herself again. And what about you? Do you think Sandra Bullock truly walked away from Hollywood? Or was it Hollywood that lost her? Leave your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to hear more true stories. and the whispers that were never meant to be told.